Today, we are going to discuss a book that will teach you how to use your brain to become a mastermind, just like Sherlock Holmes. If you're not familiar with the name Sherlock Holmes, let me tell you that he is one of the most famous fictional detectives in the world. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle created him and his stories, and even today, people are as fascinated by him as they were in the past. Sherlock Holmes is known for his exceptional cognitive skills, observation, and deduction powers. He notices small details that ordinary people overlook, and from these, he builds theories that turn out to be correct every time. Have you ever wondered if you, too, can think like Sherlock Holmes? In today's video, I will tell you how you can apply his techniques in your daily life to enhance your problem-solving and decision-making skills. We all face many problems in life and have to make various decisions every day. But what if you could solve problems like Sherlock Holmes or make tough decisions with ease? It is possible. You just need to train your brain the way Sherlock Holmes did. A Sherlock Holmes mystery. Before learning these techniques, let's go through one of Sherlock Holmes' stories to understand what kind of detective he was. London's cold and foggy nights were always mysterious and full of dangers. But this time, the case before Sherlock Holmes was not only strange but also terrifying. This is the story of the Red Skull mystery, which had put the entire city of London in fear. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were enjoying a quiet evening at home when there was a sudden loud knock on the door. When the door opened, a frightened woman entered. Fear was clearly visible in her eyes. She introduced herself. Her name was Mrs. Elizabeth Martin, the wife of a well-known businessman in the city. "Mr. Holmes," she said in a trembling voice, "someone has murdered my husband and left a red skull mark near his body. The police have failed to solve the case, and now I need your help." Holmes calmed Mrs. Martin and gathered all the information. Mr. Martin's body was found in his office, and next to it was a skull symbol drawn in red. This red skull was also linked to other murders happening in London. Holmes and Watson immediately went to Martin's office. Everything in the room seemed normal, but one thing caught Holmes' attention: the red skull mark, which appeared to be made with blood. Examining the mark closely with his magnifying glass, Holmes noticed that the lines of the skull were extremely precise, as if someone had drawn them very carefully. "This is not the work of an ordinary criminal," Holmes told Watson. "This mark belongs to someone highly skilled, and we must take this case very seriously." As Holmes dug deeper into the investigation, he discovered that the red skull mark was found at various locations across London. He realized that this was not just a normal crime but that a much bigger mystery was hidden behind it. Holmes found that all the locations where the mark appeared were connected to a secret organization called the Red Skull. This organization was targeting wealthy individuals and pressuring them to meet its demands. As the investigation progressed, Holmes discovered that the organization was a secret union of some of London's top businessmen and leaders. They used the red skull symbol to intimidate their opponents. However, Martin's murder puzzled Holmes. After all, he was also a member of the same organization. Then why was he killed? Using his logic, Holmes deduced that Martin had tried to go against the organization, which led to his murder. Holmes devised a plan with Watson to expose the organization. He instructed Mrs. Martin to invite all businessmen to her husband's funeral. Holmes had set a trap. During the funeral, he observed that some businessmen looked anxious. He had also involved the police in the case. As soon as the funeral ended, Holmes stepped forward and said, "Mr. Martin's murder was a planned conspiracy, and all of you are involved in it." The businessmen were shocked. Holmes presented strong evidence against them, which he had collected during his investigation. "You thought you could terrorize this city and get away with your crimes," Holmes declared, "but you forgot that in the world of crime, nothing remains hidden from Sherlock Holmes." Ultimately, the Red Skull organization was exposed, and all the criminals were arrested. London was saved from a great threat, and Holmes added another brilliant case to his career. For Holmes, this was just another case, but his intelligence and logic once again proved that no mystery in the world could escape his reasoning. Lessons from Sherlock Holmes. Whenever Sherlock Holmes solves a case, his greatest strength is his observation and attention to detail. He doesn't just see what is in front of him, he also notices what most people miss. Holmes often says, "You see, but you do not observe." This means that most people just look at things superficially, whereas Holmes pays attention to every small detail, no matter how insignificant it may seem. You, too, can improve your observation and attention to detail, just like Sherlock Holmes. Here are some practical tips. 1. Observe thoroughly. When you see something, don't just glance at it to notice its color, texture, size, and surrounding details. For example, when you enter a room, observe its layout and the placement of objects. 2. Focus on body language. When talking to someone, don't just listen to their words, pay attention to their body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. This helps you understand their emotions and thoughts better. 3. Play memory games. Engage in activities that improve your memory and focus. For instance, enter a room, observe it for a few seconds, then leave and try to recall as many details as possible. This exercise enhances your observational skills. 4. Notice small inconsistencies. When reading an article, look for grammar mistakes or inconsistencies in the information. This sharpens your attention to detail. To understand Sherlock Holmes' power of observation, consider this example. One day, Holmes and Watson were sitting in their room when Holmes asked, "Watson, how many times have you seen these stairs?" Watson replied, "Hundreds of times." Holmes then asked, "Then tell me, how many steps are there?" Watson didn't know the answer, but Holmes immediately said, "There are 17 steps, because I don't just see, I observe." This example shows that Sherlock Holmes doesn't just look at things, he observes and remembers them, making him superior to others in understanding situations. Improving observation and attention to detail can make a big difference in both your professional and personal life. If we train our minds like Sherlock Holmes, we can develop a new way of thinking and enhance our problem-solving skills. Always remember, you see, but you do not observe. This small difference can help solve even the biggest mysteries.